Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. Today I'm going to be talking about the Asylum's 2007 mockbuster Invasion of the Pod People, which can sometimes also be found under the title Invasion: The Beginning. The film centres on Melissa, a young woman who works for a large corporation in Los Angeles. One night, there's a freak meteor shower. In the days immediately following this, Melissa becomes aware that a growing number of the people around her seem to be changing in personality and behaviour. She learns that they have all been replaced by aliens dubbed pod people because they grow in large seed pods. As the seed pod develops, the alien inside gradually takes on the form of a particular person, absorbing their memories and knowledge and assuming their identity. The pod people are keen to make Melissa one of them, touting what they see as the benefits of the new existence, but she prefers to remain entirely who she is and attempts to escape and sound the alarm before all of humanity is quietly replaced. Now, having heard that synopsis, you may be thinking, wow, an asylum mockbuster of Invasion of the Body Snatchers? That's unusual. They usually try to cash on much more contemporary films. Well, if you are thinking that, you, like most of the world probably, are forgetting the science fiction horror movie The Invasion, starring Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. That film, the fourth adaptation of Jack Finney's novel The Body Snatchers, hit cinemas in August 2007, a few weeks after this film slid its way into DVD stores. Now, if you're at all familiar with the Asylum's mockbuster output, you don't need this review to tell you whether the movie is any good or not. Of course it isn't. The best of the Asylum mockbusters barely scraped to not very good, with most hovering around insultingly bad. Also, if you aren't familiar with the Asylum's mockbuster output, you have my congratulations. I suggest you keep it that way. In any case, the real question for this review is how bad is this film? And the answer is that it is most definitely in the insultingly bad bracket. Let's talk about some of the many, many ways in which this film fails. And let's start with what is simultaneously both the most puerile and cynical part of this puerile and cynical cash grab, and also the one thing the movie has that in the eyes of people who actually cared about what they were doing might have been interesting: the sex. Asylum films are not generally known for their racy content, probably because PG and PG-13 ratings maximise your possible audience. But in this film, they surprised me by going all in on the naughty bits. There's a considerable amount of nudity and several soft-core sex scenes, generally involving two or more attractive women engaging in a little same-sex shenanigans. Perhaps they figured that the audience for horror mockbusters was going to skew away from family-friendly and towards older audiences anyway. Whatever the reason, the skin on display appears to be a blatantly tawdry effort to paper over some of the movie's many other shortcomings via the laziest possible method. And this is a particular shame because there's a moment in the script where the aliens are trying to coax Melissa into joining them, and their sales pitch is basically, as one of us you will feel love and connection in the way you humans always dream of but can never actually attain. And you know, I want to see the movie that treats that idea with even just a few ounces of respect, an insidious invasion that preys on our desire to feel the grand storybook romantic connection that our movies and novels so frequently sell to us. You could actually do something interesting with that. But not in this movie, they won't. Here, it's just, maybe if we have enough bosoms in this, teenage boys will watch it. But then, even by the Asylum's already low standards, and they are low standards, this is a poorly made film. I'm used to often wooding acting and unconvincing special effects in their productions, but in the case of this movie, I'm talking about fundamental failures of basic filmmaking. Things like the dialogue frequently being near inaudible. I'm willing to forgive technical flaws like that in a film like Pathogen, which was made by a 12-year-old. In a movie that IMDb estimates costs $750,000, that's a lot less excusable. Like, get the dialogue, do it in post-production, do something so that people can actually hear what your characters are saying to one another. But my single favourite, for lack of a better word, example of this film's complete lack of care or effort, however, comes in how they've depicted the alien plants from which the pod people will ultimately grow. They've literally bought whole pieces of ginger from a grocery store, stuck them in plant pots and said, job done. They don't even bother to paint them or stick some extra foam growths on them or anything like that. I really can't think of a much more emphatic statement of we don't care about this than that. And if they don't care about it, why should the rest of us? So, As you've probably already guessed by this point, the script is also a bit of a mess. The join us and experience the deep emotional connections you've always dreamed of element is introduced very late, feeling like something of a tacked on afterthought just to justify all the salacious content. For much of the film, while the pod people seem to be strongly interested in sex, their main characteristic appears to be that they have inverted personalities. Nasty people become nice and vice versa. This aspect never goes anywhere though, and ultimately disappears. I wouldn't be surprised if the filmmakers were still writing this turkey as they made it, and we ended up with elements from different versions of the story all jumbled together in a bit of a mess because, as I said, they clearly didn't care. A bigger issue with this inconsistency, though, is Melissa and how willfully obtuse and self-sabotaging she is. She may be our nominal protagonist, but she makes so many flagrantly bad decisions that by the end of the movie you may well be cheering on the aliens. At least they seem to have some kind of clue about what they're doing and aren't actively self-sabotaging the whole time. Ultimately, even by the very low standards of Asylum, this film is embarrassingly bad. Stay well away. Next time, from a film that uses lesbian content purely for the titillation of young men to one that uses a burgeoning sexual lesbian relationship as the framework to tell a story about letting go of the things we can't have in our lives, embracing the things that we can. It's the surprisingly thoughtful The Gymnast from 2006. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.